Before you start, I left something for you in the show notes. If you've been creating content but not seeing it connect, or maybe not in the way that you hoped, the 3-minute founder voice quiz will show you why. And once you know your natural voice, everything you create becomes clearer and converts better. It's below. Take it before you forget. Now, let's begin. Should I buy a franchise my business, or just keep grinding on my own? This episode is your decision lab. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Kitchen, where we turn real founder journeys into practical playbooks for the purpose-driven entrepreneur. Today, we're unpacking franchising and global teams with someone who's lived every side of it. My guest is Max Emma, a certified franchise executive with over 2 decades in the franchise world. He's gone from arriving in the US with no English to corporate finance to losing everything in the 2008 crash, rebuilding, launching bookkeeping, and ultimately turning it into the only bookkeeping franchise of its kind in the United States. Now, he's run multiple businesses with team members in 10 countries. 10 countries, did you get that? By design, not by accident. In this conversation, we're going to dig into how to know if buying a franchise actually fits your strengths and personality, what most founders get wrong about franchising their own businesses, the right way to build a global team without working 24/7, and the mindset shift Max had to make after bankruptcy to design a business that supports his life, not the other way around. If you're a founder who wants growth and a life that you're proud of, this one's for you. So let's get into it. Max is a seasoned expert in all things franchising. I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast. Max, please let us know who you are and what's your mission.
Hi, Priscilla. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. So, as I said, my name is Max Emma. I came to the United States 33 years ago, almost, from the former Soviet Union, and started my journey without any English in a brand new country. And after getting my degree and 4 years of corporate experience, I just decided that I want to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea what it was, but I wanted to work for myself and started the business and had many businesses, some successful, some not so successful. I strongly believe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I learned a lot, and one business led to another. And after a series of businesses, some of them were successful and I was able to sell them. I started my own bookkeeping company called Bookskeeping, which in a few years we franchised. And now we're the only bookkeeping franchise in the United States, selling our own franchises. And then a few years after that, I also opened a franchise broker. So if somebody's not a good match for bookkeeping, I help them to choose over 600 different franchises. My services are completely free. Only if they buy, I get a commission from a franchisor, which I'm sharing part of this commission with the candidate and also paying for 9 months of their sales training.
That's amazing. I'll take you back to the beginning, Max. You came to the US from the former Soviet. And I find with immigrants, one or two things happen. Either they take off and they say, oh, immigrants see opportunity everywhere, or it's the opposite. They long for what was and fail to launch in a new environment. What do you think was your mindset? You know, maybe some people who are listening are not moving to a new country. Maybe they're moving to a different date. Maybe they're trying to enter into a new industry. Maybe they're trying to get a job in a different place. What is the mindset to really launch into something new?
So I was 18 when I came, and it's not that I had a huge working experience in Russia. So my mindset definitely was bring it on. I can do it. I didn't have a choice. I moved here with my family, but I was the only one who was barely speaking English. I came with my parents and 2 of my grandmothers. They did not speak any English. So on top of finding a job and going to school, I also had to translate for them and take them to all the appointments because not too many people in San Diego spoke Russian. So we didn't have a choice. Obviously, we didn't know what the I was, so we couldn't do Google Translate or anything like that. Even internet did not pretty much barely existed. So I had to take him everywhere. And I understood that I don't have a choice but to succeed. And so I definitely had a mindset that immigrants will get the job done. And I couldn't understand why people are complaining about how hard the life is. I'm like, we have so many opportunities, just go get them done. And the opportunities were out there. You just had to go and grab them. The biggest challenge for people was they had to make the first couple moves.
That's so true. The biggest challenge is to just get moving. And I can imagine you as a teenager and you become the trusted translator, advisor, and shifting from typical teenage life. What was that like?
It was literally happened when we crossed the border at JFK. That was, I just remember, because even though I finished 1 year of university back in the Soviet Union, my parents still treated me as the little kid. And back in the early 90s, we were living with parents and we were like the kid. I had curfew. Obviously, it wasn't 8 p.m. and I could come home late, but it was unheard of me not showing up and not letting my parents know that I'm not going to be spending the night. I could have just called and say, hey, I'm doing whatever, but I had to call. And then all of a sudden, when we crossed the border, it changed. Now they're listening to me. They were dependent on me, not so much financially, organizationally, language wise. My older brother already was in the United States, so we came to him, but he was working. He had his own family, had a little babies at home, so he was even more busier than I was. It was a very interesting change. And again, growing up in Soviet Union, I didn't really have to work. I was a student. I was making a little bit money here and there. It was enough for me. I lived a great life. And then everything changed. I had to go. My first job was bussing the tables at the restaurant. And luckily, I got out of there fast enough. I got a job at Costco. But again, you just had to make the first steps. I probably would get stuck there because I couldn't find any jobs. I was going door to door, like, hey, do you need help? Do you need help? Couldn't find anything. And then I got a job at this restaurant. And then there was an old lady coming to the restaurant to eat pretty much Monday through Friday, every day at 4 p.m. And I just was talking to her because for me, it was a practice for my English. And I was nice. I was smiling. And she always was talking to me. And then after a month or so, she told me she's working at a Costco across the street. And I knew that it was almost impossible to get to a Costco because they were paying 50 to 60% more than everybody else was paying. And they were giving you benefits upfront. And all the Russian immigrants were saying it's impossible to get there. And so I was talking to her and she said, oh, yeah, I'm working at Costco. I'm like, that would be great for me one day to work there while I'm going to school. She goes, do you really want to work there? I'm like, yeah. She goes, let me see what I can do. So she comes back in a few days. You have an interview in 2 days. So I go in and literally it turned out that her late husband was the guy who was helping, back then it was Price Club, which became Costco later on through the merger. Her late husband was the best friend of Solomon Price, and he was helping him to get all the land for all the Price Clubs in San Diego. And so she was working there since day one. So she just talked to the manager, said, you want to talk to this guy? So I came in, barely any English, and they hired me. And I spent 5 years working there, making really good money, getting all the benefits, and they were even giving me scholarship to go to school.
Wow.
Yes, talk to this lady. I mean, that's it. And I had no idea. I was just nice. I was nice to everybody. She really helped.
That's the first lesson already. Talk to people, everything you need. There's somebody out there who can help you, but you actually need to talk to people. And then from this, the entrepreneurial bug hits you and you decide, okay, I don't want to work for people. I want to work for myself. And you said several businesses before bookkeeping. How many several? Because I want the audience to have an idea. You know, maybe you're on your second business and it's not going well. And you're thinking, oh, let me throw in the towel.
I almost threw the towel and I'm happy I did not. So I worked for one of the largest employers in San Diego at a time, doing corporate accounting and finance, doing really well. They were going to pay for my MBA, but I was just not liking corporate life. I just didn't like doing the same thing day in, day out. Like I was always making a joke that I was constantly kissing the wrong butt and I was just not good at it. And I gave him 2 week notice and I left and joined a small family business, which was like a landscape maintenance route with 3 employees. And I joined, I learned, I didn't know anything about landscaping. And I grew it from 3 to 96 employees and we became a landscape construction company. And we were doing really good until 08, 09 hit, and we lost everything. And because In construction in the United States, you have to personal guarantee all the equipment. I had to declare not only business bankruptcy, but personal bankruptcy as well. So with one baby at home and one on the way, we were left with absolutely nothing. And we were going to start from scratch. So my wife, she was 4 or 5 months pregnant with the second baby, and I was just looking what to do. And honestly, I thought about giving up, and maybe entrepreneurship is not for me. I'm going to go back into the corporate world. Luckily for me, nobody was hiring. 08 or 09 in the US, there were no jobs. People were getting laid off. There was a real estate bubble. So it was pretty nasty. So I didn't have a choice but start the business again. And in that case, it was landscape maintenance, way smaller, but we were more successful. We were able to sell it later on. And while doing that, we were talking about the need of having a bookkeeping company. I had a bachelor in finance, called myself a village idiot. My wife had masters in accounting. So we both understood it, but we were so busy growing the business, we didn't have time to analyze or even prepare financials. So we're like, would be nice if there was a bookkeeping company. And so at some point, when we couldn't find the one that fit us, we created bookkeeping and we started running from the garage. She was doing the work. I was getting the clients while running the other company, which we eventually sold and concentrated on bookkeeping. And then a few years in, and between we had different consulting businesses and this business and that business. So there were several, but the major one was the landscaping business, then landscape maintenance business, and then bookkeeping that eventually became a bookkeeping franchise. So I'd say close to 10 businesses in different capacity, but the major ones, I would say about 4 or 5.
An interesting journey and so much at stake when you have a family and such things happen. I like you say that you were very lucky that no one would hire you. But when you look back, you feel lucky. But I'm sure in the moment when you're like, oh, I need to go back to work and you're thinking, oh gosh, what do I do now? I suppose it's fate. Max, tell us, you're running bookkeeping with your wife and you realize, okay, this could be a franchise. How did that happen? What was the thinking process?
So it's actually even more interesting, Priscilla. I'm running bookkeeping with my ex-wife now. We're working together, we're doing really well, and we just not husband and wife, but we are co-founders, and we talk to each other all the time. She's now a professor of accounting. She's got her PhD in Barcelona, Spain. I live in the United States. One of our kids live in Barcelona, one kid lives here in the US. We work together really well, and the idea of franchising, we actually started doing bookkeeping for some franchises, one, then two, then three. And I started going to different franchise conferences, and I was around franchisors. And I really like being around these people. I like the way they talk to you. Everybody wanted to help. Everybody is nice. I always give this example, but I saw it personally when two main competitors of largest franchise brands, each has over 2,000 locations. We're sitting next to each other at the bar, having a drink and talking to themselves. They are direct competitors. They go after the same talent. They go after the same clientele, like literally for the same market, but yet they're talking and they're sharing. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome because people believe in abundance. This whole thing of abundance and abundance mindset that it's enough for everybody and the world is huge. It's not just I need this piece. This is awesome. And I always was telling myself when I grow up, I want to be like them. And I guess I've grown up. And we decided to franchise bookkeeping. But the idea came, I literally woke up with that one morning. I literally came up to me in the sleep. I know it sounds weird, funny, whatever it is, but it's true. So I was visiting my office in Philippines and I was in a hotel in Manila and I woke up with this idea. I'm like, why don't franchise bookkeeping? And then I literally went downstairs to a coffee shop in the hotel. I remember every time I go there, I go to the same place and I sit down and I get new ideas coming in and I just literally started writing it down. The first few formulas were on napkin. I wish I saved it. Then I started doing a notebook and then eventually we made a business plan and franchised the business. But the idea literally came to me during sleep.
You've lived a very interesting life. I'm picking the few things I know about you so far. I said, this should be a movie.
Not hopefully my life is not over. I'm not ready to just give it up. I think I have a lot in me. At least I hope I do.
I hope so too. I'm sure you do, Max. Tell me, you've come up with this idea. You've got the business plan. Because a lot of people are thinking, well, that's a big leap. How to prepare a business for it to become a franchise. And maybe if you can give us sort of some stories to kind of give someone a picture of what those first steps when you've got your business plan in hand and you're going after this.
So the first step was to admit that I don't know what I don't know. Because it's one thing working for franchise, another thing franchise it as a concept. And a lot of the things that I thought would be working, they were not working. I'll give you a good example. So one of the things that you do when you create a franchise, it's so-called brand menu. So that really becomes the Bible for the company. It's everything. So it's the process is technically the idea is that once you read it all, you can do the whole business. So it's business from A to Z. Of course, there is a practical training in every business, but technically the idea is that it's all in there. And so I found a company that was their specialty. They were helping to put brand manuals together. I'm like, I'm not going to pay them. We know all of that. We created the business. It's a successful business. We're going to do it ourselves. So I got the team together. We started doing it. After doing the outline and started working on it, we realized that we have about 30 pages total of everything that we know. And I'm like, you know what? People are not going to pay us money for the franchise fee for 30 pages of stuff. There got to be more. And reluctantly, I did hire this company. Once they were said and done, and most of it was them interviewing us to get information from our heads, they got over 600 pages. Okay? 600 pages, 30 pages. So that's a huge difference. So that was, I'm glad I spent this money. So I'm glad that I talked myself into that, even though it was a lot of money, but I did it. But at the same time, we did a marketing plan. But very interesting fact, the day we got permission to franchise the United States was the day we went into lockdown, just with my luck. So it like literally happened in March of 2020 when the US got shut down on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I got the email. So as you can imagine, for the first year and a half, if not two, nothing was done because I had offices across the world. I had to make sure if we think in the US we got shut down hard, there was nothing. Like my office in Barcelona and office in Philippines, they couldn't go outside more than 30 minutes a day or something like that. We could freely go anywhere. Yes, we had to wear a mask, but it was different. So we had to move them from the offices to home, and sometimes at night they had to sneak out and get the computers and move it and get the it was a very interesting process. So my point is we did the marketing plan, which I paid somebody to do, also a lot of money. We didn't use anything because when we came out of COVID, everything changed. Nothing that was working, not nothing, but most of the things that were working before were not working, so it would have to be done completely. So that was a waste of money, but it was a great experience that now when I do, because part of my business portfolios, I do franchise consulting. I went back to school, got my certified franchise executive designation, and I help people to franchise their businesses or to buy franchises. But when I help them to franchise, I just tell, you know what? I think this piece and this piece you can do yourself. This one I can help you. So you don't have to make mistakes that and that's why you want to hire consultants. It's not that, you want to they know everything. They just know what to do and what not to do. Ultimately, you make up your own decision. I'm not saying right now I would not do a marketing plan. Right now, a marketing plan I'm sure, looks completely different from what was done 5, 6 years. But now I already know a lot of that, and I have marketing company working with me. I have a PR company working with me, so they my partners in that. So I don't really need somebody to give me a plan because they're ultimately doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you thought 30 pages was everything that you do, but I'm sure you took for granted some of the things that it's obvious. It doesn't need to be written down because surely someone will know to go from here to here. And 30 pages and 600, that's a huge lesson for entrepreneurs. Sometimes we try to do everything ourselves, and the value of experts and finding consultants and people who have that specialized knowledge. You're talking about offices in Barcelona and Philippines. You're from Russia, you're living in America, and I'm thinking, how was this happening?
I also have an office in Colombia, and my executive assistant is in El Salvador, and then I have somebody in India. So between three businesses that I running currently, I have people in 10 countries. Okay, so we are as global as it gets, okay, which makes it a lot of fun because I'm learning from these people and I'm meeting new people, I'm meeting new cultures, and it's awesome. If I would not have office in Philippines, I probably would never go and would not fall in love with this beautiful country. Colombia is relatively new for us. I'm going in about a month, and just right before our podcast, I was just researching a restaurant where I'm taking my team for our holiday dinner, and it's like really awesome that get a chance to travel, and I absolutely love it. So it's interesting. The downside that everybody works in different time zones, so sometimes it's late hours, especially for my team, but most of everybody is working the US time zone, which we made it except the Philippines office. Everybody else is working US time zone. And that was done by design. So we have life after hours because I know the companies that literally the CEO is working around the clock. And I refuse to do that because this is not ultimately my goal. I want to enjoy life. I love what I do. I'm definitely seeing more values in life than just working 24/7. Because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with me. I'm on a mission to see as many countries as possible. God willing, in 10 days, I'll get to my number 50. And that was done by design. I wanted to do it before I turned 50. I am 1 year behind, so I'm 1 week late after I turned 51, but I'm fine with that. Okay, it's okay. I can do that, but it's going to be 50 countries. And then my goal is to see all the states in the United States. I'm two-thirds done, give or take. So that's also something that I love doing. So when I go to conference, a convention, before I used to come on Monday, conference ends, I'm back as soon as it ends. Now I get a day before, a day after just to explore and to play, take a city tour and go and see new places. And it's awesome. And I teach my kids like travel whenever you can. My 15-year-old been to 27 or 29 countries. Okay, because and it's easy for him to do because he lives in Barcelona. Everything is 1 hour away. But me and his mom, we taught him to travel whenever he can. He's now an exchange student in Brazil. And he just went for 2 months because his mom, I was joking that his monster mom decided that 4 languages is not enough for a poor 15-year-old. So she sent him to Brazil to learn Portuguese. I'm joking, of course. I think it's a great opportunity and he loves it. He's coming home in a few weeks, but 8 weeks in a different country, living in a family, it's absolutely great. And now he's speaking Portuguese native.
Wow, that's amazing. I love your approach. And I think that what you're already doing is the future of how people will work together, that global team. I think there's a lot of hesitation, a lot of how will it work or can it work? Is it the best way to work? But I'm glad that you speak to that and you have an amazing team and you travel to connect with them. I'm interested for the entrepreneur that's listening, that's thinking, okay, I've thought about having a global team. Do I go there? If I go there, how do I do it? Do I do it online? Do like how would you say the first step?
First of all, you need to decide what country, what region you want to invest in. Like, I would not suggest to just start it doing 10 countries at the same time. We are at 10 countries just because a lot of people who were, for example, in Barcelona office, they moved to their home countries. And so that's also how we got spread out. We used to be just Philippines and Barcelona and the US. But eventually it started spreading out. But my advice would be, of course, visit the country and understand the culture. And the first time I went to Philippines, I went on a business tour where they actually showed us the history, the culture, and showed us different options how you hire people. And they showed us Manila and they showed us regions outside of Manila. I've never been to Asia at this time, so for me it was like eye opener. Yeah, I remember it was 2016, and that was like huge change for me going there. And then once I came back, I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready. I think I can work with talent from Philippines. And I just made the first hire. Same was in Colombia. I went to Colombia. I traveled. I ate the local foods, was playing a tourist for 3, 4 days. And when I came back, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I started hiring in Colombia. The first step would be to know the culture. Because look, every culture is different. It's not good or bad. It's just different. So you have to know who you're going to be working with. So you have to understand and you have to embrace it. You will not change people. You absolutely, maybe they'll change for a little bit, but then eventually they're going to come back to what they're used to. So you have to just say, yeah, that's part of the game, and I have to just know who I'm hiring, who I'm working with.
So good. Thank you for that, Mac. Now, I want to talk about people thinking about starting a franchise. We think McDonald's, KFC, but you mentioned there are about 600 or so. What is it that you commonly hear of, or maybe misconceptions about starting a franchise that you often have to clarify with your clients?
So, Priscilla, are you talking about people buying a franchise, becoming a franchisee, or franchising their business? Because they're two different things.
People wanting to buy a franchise.
Wanted to buy a franchise? Yeah, so as
Yes.
part of my franchise consulting, as I mentioned, my services are completely free. We get paid by a franchisor, but I just have a conversation. Like a lot of companies are just giving you a test, and based on your results, we think you should be doing this business. I don't believe in doing that. I just have a conversation for an hour or two and taking people on a journey where they want to be 3 years from now, how much time they want to spend. Do they want to work with people? Do they want to sit in the office? Do they want to do sales? They don't want to do sales. I'll give you an example. Franchisee of, let's call it Taco Bell, doesn't have to go and do any business development. Taco Bell is doing of that. You're not going to see them going around giving flyers. Please come to Taco Bell. Everybody knows what Taco Bell is, right? So their job is to fulfill. So when I go to Taco Bell, it's going to taste exactly the same as the Taco Bell 3,000 miles from here. Same for McDonald's. I use Taco Bell as an example. If you buy a bookkeeping franchise, for example, part of your job, you have to go and do business development. You have to find new clients. We as the franchise will help you with fulfillment. You will have to go and find the CPAs and these businesses that will be sending you business or will be referring business to you. Okay. Part of my job is to understand what they want to do. Because some people absolutely hate sales, but they might be great in fulfillment. And some people, the other way around. And again, it's not right or wrong. People are different. And you have to hire to the things that you don't like doing. I, for example, not an accountant. So please don't ask me any accounting questions. I will suck at it. But knowing that, I hired a bookkeeper. Actually, my wife was doing it in the beginning, then we hired our first employee. But I can talk about bookkeeping and accounting for hours. I can sell it. I definitely understand how it works. I just haven't opened QuickBooks myself for the past 15 or 20 years. But does that make me a bad person? Of course not. Just not mine. And I know that I'm not trying to be doing everything myself. And a lot of franchises actually put in the agreement that a franchisee cannot work in the business. They're like, they have to step out and you have to grow the business. We don't want you to do all the work because you will miss out on growing. Because franchises make money on royalties. So the bigger the business, the more money they're going to make. So they don't want the franchisee to buy themselves a job. That's a conversation I have with all of my candidates for bookkeeping. I'm like, I don't want to sell you a job because that's an expensive job to buy. If you really look at it as business, then yes, we can talk. But if you're just looking for X number of clients to make X amount of money, then probably I don't want to sell to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. The idea that the franchise should match what it is that you want to do, because you're not trying to recreate the wheel. You want to use your strengths and then apply it to a franchise that matches that. I'm wondering for people who think, okay, I could build my own business and then turn it into a franchise, or I have a business now, could I turn it into a franchise? Or maybe the best option for me is to take what I have and get into something that's already established, like already a franchise. What would you say to those two different people?
Every case is different. You have to really know your options and you have to look at different things. Look, people make a mistake. Sometimes, going back to your original question, people mix their hobbies with the business. They say, I always give this example. My grandmother has this secret recipe of pizza. It's the best pizza. Thus, I'm going to go open pizza franchise. I'm going to buy, call it Pizza Hut or whatever. And I'll explain to them, Pizza Hut or any other pizza will not care about your grandmother recipe. You'll have to do the same pie that's going to taste exactly the same in San Diego, in Australia, and in China. It has to have so many pieces of pepperoni, not one more, not one less. They're not going to let experiment. So being a great cook doesn't make you a great franchisee because you pretty much have to manage people. On average, McDonald's has over 50 employees, one location. So this is the people's business. It has really nothing to do with how great the burgers are. I can argue that if I want the best burger in the world, I'm not going to go to McDonald's or Burger King. If I want fast burger, yes, I'll go there. But it's not the place to go and enjoy like on a date night, okay? You're probably going to go to a nicer place. But they're not designed for date nights. So again, it has nothing to do with the quality of food, the taste. This is just a different market. So only because, and look, I believe you don't have to know how to paint to have a successful painting company, because then your job is to make sure you find the right people, you schedule the jobs right, you estimate the jobs. Nobody expecting you to go and do the paintings yourself. So if you want to franchise your own business, you have to understand, is that something that you want to do? Because let's say it was a bookkeeping company. Your customer was John Smith, and you were doing bookkeeping for his law. Now your customer is not John Smith. Now your customer is your franchisee. He or she is the one you have to listen to and make them happy. They, in turn, are working with John Smith. But the whole concept changes. You are no longer an accounting business. You are no longer a pizza business. You are a franchise. Your customers are your franchisees. A lot of people just don't realize that. Plus, I want to say that franchising is not for everyone buying a franchise. If you being an entrepreneur all your life, it's going to be very hard for you to come in and follow the rules. In franchising, there are rules which you cannot change. So I don't know if I would be a good franchisee, because if I come and become a franchisee of another bookkeeping company and they'll tell me you have to do it this way, I'm always going to go back to my old days, but this way is better. But the franchise is going to say, we don't really care. We have our own ways. That's how you're going to do it. So it's a discussion. So franchising is not for everybody. But if that's something that is good for you, it gives you a lot of opportunities, because it already clears a lot of time, give you a lot of time back, because I call it opportunity cost. You can figure out any of these businesses, but how long is it going to take for you to figure out how many pieces of pepperoni goes on each pie and how to set up a kitchen? It's going to be trial and error. You're going to burn a lot of dough before you actually figure it out. They already tell you exactly what equipment to buy, how much flour to put in, how much tomato sauce, everything. It's a science. So, if you follow the recipe, it's going to come perfect. It's going to be there 5 minutes and 37 seconds, whatever it is. I have no idea. You don't have to figure out, is it 5 minutes, is it 6, or is it 5:37? They tell you exactly what to do, so it comes out perfect.
Yeah. I think knowing what business you're in, maybe it's not burgers, it's the people business. Are you happy to go into the people business? And then also understanding who is your customer now. That if you are a franchisor, if you have franchisees, that who is your customer now? Very interesting. Thank you so much, Max. This was such an enlightening conversation for people who are thinking this way or wanting to do this. Max, where can people learn more about what you do, and where can people follow you?
So the best way to reach to me would be go on my website, which is franchisewithmax.com. It's franchisewithmax.com. And then they can decide, do they want to talk to me as the broker, as the owner of bookkeeping franchise, or as the CEO of an accounting company can help you with the accounting. They can literally choose and then go into different direction. They will talk to my team first, but I promise eventually they're all going to get to me. So again, franchisewithmax.com is the easiest way to get a hold of.
Thank you so much. I'll link that down in the description, franchisewithmax.com. 3 options there. Very exciting. Max, thank you so much for your time. To the audience, thank you for listening. Please come back next week.
Thank you, Priscilla. It's been great.